Let me say hello again, as I usually do. People say me hello. Let's see how hello. Okay, it's good to have you back on your favorite program, Talk Shop, where we tell it like it is and let the chips fall where they may. And truth crash to earth shall always rise again. And on that note, my favorite question, what time is it, folks? And your answer? It's nation time. I'm happy. You know, these days I meet people around the town and they ask me, hey, KSM, what time is it? And I'm saying, it's nation time. It's nation time. Today we're going to look at quite a few things, but let me start off this way. Today I want to start off with an apology. You know, if you want to build a nation, and if you're serious about nation time, one of the hallmarks is to do a self-introspection about yourself. Look, me, I'm not perfect. I'm fallible, you know. Occasionally, I go beyond certain things. Occasionally. I try not to do that, honestly, you know. But I think that every now and then, I prejudge or misjudge. And I want to say this, you know, I did a segment on Afenyo-Markin. And yes, I was pretty harsh, you know. But let me tell you what surprised me. He gave me a call, you know, and he first sent a text, and I didn't know the number. So I text back and I asked, who is this? And he said it was him. And he wanted to talk to me to explain a few things. I was very shocked. So I called him, and he answered the phone and said, hey, me or something like that. I was very shocked, you know, considering how harsh I was on him. I was very shocked. But he took his time to explain one or two things to me that he thought I didn't quite understand. And that's why he said he called. Anyway, as we will have it, I invited him to the KSM show. You know, there are two shows that I do online. I have this show, Talk Shop, which is my own platform. I say it like it is and let the chips fall where they may. And then I have the KSM show, which I host guests every now and then. And usually what I say is that platform is not mine. The name KSM is on the show, but it is a platform for my guest. So after Afenyo explained a few things to me, I figured I think I should also give him my platform to come and explain a few things. And especially regarding the specific things I was harsh to him about. And he came on the show. Some of you saw it. Some of you missed it. Those of you who missed it, it's still on YouTube. And he explained certain things to my understanding. And let me say this. I really, really believe in hindsight that there were things that I didn't understand quite as well that he made clear to me. But above all, I think it's a mark not only of a true politician, but of a noble human being who can hear criticisms and want to call you to tell you, my friend, I understand you're criticizing me, but you don't understand the issues properly. And then take their time to explain. So I'm here today. I want to apologize to Afenyo-Markin for misjudging him on that specific thing we talked about. And also to thank him that he took time to call me, and not only to call me, to be my guest and explain things. So Afenyo, wherever you are, I mean, peace. And I think keep on keeping on. You said plainly that, yes, you are loyal to your party. And I tell everybody all the time, it's okay to be a party member and to be loyal to your party. It's okay. I only say that don't let that override your decision to build a nation. And he said that's where he stands. So thank you. Now let's move on. Show him some love one more time. No fuss about. Okay, so let's move on today. Today I want to do some Funalytics. You know what I mean by Funalytics? I did Funalytics the other time, and what I mean by Funalytics is that I have analysis, but this analysis are not driven by any scientific data. They are driven by my own observations and certain things that I feel. I could be right, I could be wrong, but that's what I call Funalytics. I think I did one episode some time ago. Today I just want to look at this. And I'm saying this because I think the discussion came up when I hosted Afenyo. you know. And I said that what happened to the NPP, we're talking about the politics in Ghana generally. We have, of course, Ghana politics is dominated by the NPP and the NDC. Is one in power or the other, and they keep rotating NPP, NDC, NPP, NDC. And I told him that at some point, something happened in Ghana. Because folks, some of you are too young to remember, but at some point, the NDC was the most unattractive party ever. I mean, there was a time, if you want to insult somebody, who say NDC ni. And that was an insult. Because they were all of a sudden, me NDC. You know, that was a reaction. How dare you call me an NDC? I'm just saying this to let you understand that, yes, once upon a time, NDC was very unpopular. Let me explain why. Because I'm talking to Nkwalabibiri Munim why. The reason is that the NDC came out of the PNDC. J.J. Rawlings, he came onto the Ghana scene in the coup. He was a very, very, very violent revolutionary, and he came to Ghana in the coup. This is not the time to talk about it. That's not what I'm talking about. And so when it was time for him to hand over power, he actually wanted to stay in power because he thought that he had certain things set in motion that he is the person who should rule. I remember at one time they asked him, "Are you going to hand over power?" He said, "Hand over power to who?" And Ghana for Bufusa, it was something that, did you hear what JJ said? See, to who? Like we have the audacity to tell him to hand over power. I'm giving you history, Kakra. But eventually, he found a way to stay in power. He came, at that time, he was the head of the Provisional National Defense Council. Most of you know this. For Nkwalana who don't know, so he was the head of the PNDC. So when it was time to hand over power, after he had come up with a committee to draft the 1992 Constitution, and we're going to go into an election to elect the Fourth Republic, and then he wanted to run for office. But he was a soldier man with a radical soldier history. And he realized that in order to run as president, he had to become a civilian, you know. So because he wanted to run as president, he came up with wherever it is, they came up with the NDC, the National Democratic Congress. And he was the first presidential candidate of the NDC. And people were saying, "Oh, don't mind them, it's still the PNDC. Remember, it was Provisional National Defense Council, so it was the PNDC. And he ran as president of a newly formed NDC. So people are saying, "Oh, he has just committed the P so he can come as a civilian and run." Let's move on. He became a civilian, he ran, and he won the election. Okay? But here's the interesting thing. Because of his military background, he was a boga, and Ghana went through a very violent revolution. You know, some of the revolutions, they all have the ups and downs. Some of the down moments of the JJ revolution was that it was like, Charlie, we are all the same people. In principle, yes, we are all human beings. In principle, yes, but in reality, no, it's not true. And there are differences. It's not true. I remember during the revolution, some of you are kids, so you don't remember. Those of you who are my age, you probably remember this song. We no go sit down, make them cheaters. This was the song that fellow Ghanaians, ordinary Ghanaians, were singing on the streets. We no go sit down, make them cheaters, which means that the revolution has enlightened Ghanaians to think that we are all the same. That was the spirit. And let me tell you what was so alarming about that. Sometimes when you go to an organization, even the junior staff, I'm not degrading them all, but to say you're a junior staff, you are there, you are a cleaner, you are junior staff. When the revolution came, even those are the junior staff thought, Charlie, to say it was wrong. You know, so somebody who was a junior staff, who was like a cleaner or somewhere below the ranks felt that because of the revolution, they should have the same privileges of the CEO. We will not go sit down and make them cheaters. They be that. So while the revolution awakened Ghanaians in such a way, we should now rise up and build this nation together. It also misled many of us into thinking that don't joke about say ubi. So I'm giving you a little bit of history, you know. So because of this radical background, because of the NDC didn't have any support in the middle class. Very little. Like I said, it was so unattractive. Say, NDC cry now ferry.
Like I made some observations. Those days, when we were in school, Kivas, it was difficult for any student to openly say he was NDC. Two, if we call your election, now compare one sem and obi person say what, or say we cry NDC, you lose pot all.
True. You know, and when Afenyo was here, he was telling us that even at some point, it was just like an admitted and known fact. Oh, if you're a lawyer, you are NPP.
So this was also one area that we took it as our bona fide. Took it for granted. Oh, we there say lawyer in BIA, NPP.
Yeah. Because they had the man. Not only did they have the man, they had the educated man. They had the lead, people who had gone to school, the lawyers, the doctors, the architects, the middle class. MPP. We had the man. That is the history of we had the man on. You know, as opposed to the PNDC, which had brought about the NDC, that was grassroots. The NDC was so grassroots, we belong to the grassroots. To the extent that even when at one point, I don't remember the year, but at one point when they used when the NDC formed their youth group, do you know the name of the youth group? Veranda Boys. I swear to God, the youth group of the NDC was known as the Veranda Boys. There's a for veranda so. Veranda, you know? So that is the time that I was talking about that, the NDC still had followers, the grassroots there, no one penny cry. But I'm saying to a large extent, the middle class and the educated, they saw the NDC as a very hostile, radical thing. So they stayed away from the NDC. That is what Afenyo said at that time, that at some point, even when you hear that somebody is a lawyer, even that when you hear that somebody is a lawyer and is an NDC, say, hey, no lawyer pa.
If you also look at the law profession, I became alarmed some 5-6 years ago when I realized that the NDC was deliberately sponsoring. I think they had a strategy encouraging a lot of their youth, go and study law, because they also realized that that was a handicap. Because there are people I talk to, I interact, and when you talk to them, some party lead, they've been on sponsor, Uncle Kind Law. You see them, even in these politics, courts, and then you realize that, hey, this girl, she's NDC. Hey, this boy, hey.
Some branding took place, and gradually, I think JJ started it by first introducing Atta Mills to be his running mate. Nobody knew Atta Mills. Onye fire brand, Onye did beer, no controversies, nothing. All we knew of that he was one time a professor at Legon. And then he came to head the GRA, the Ghana Revenue Authority. Nice, quiet gentleman, be fancy, a brand here. So he brought in Atta Mills, and I think that's what all the others of parties realized actually. We are very unattractive. Let us change the look of the NDC. So they brought in Atta Mills, and Atta Mills sort of calmed things down, and his presence alone was like, hey, the veranda power was being lost. because I know an academician, or never have a random man, But anyway, moving along, gradually he toned it down, Atta Mills came and his vice was JM and JM2, Krachini, So things started changing. Things started changing, to the extent that, well, the NDC was given their 4 years when Atta Mills died and Mahama took over. The NDC still won the election after Mills died, And it was a sign that some changes were happening. But the NPP campaign made sure that attractive as a Ebano, we must stop it. It seemed like the NDC was getting attractive, the lawyers, and I said, no. I'm saying, no. Now, they have done their 8 years, they have to go, we have to come. And the reason, the way we'll come is to kill this attractiveness. So they spend their time to do two things. Nana Addo was packaged and repackaged as the person to come and lead, as opposed to Mahama, who was also repackaged, but not in a positive way. They repackaged him from a leader who was wishy-washy to a leader who was incompetent. So that was the whole thrust of that election. Are we going to bring Nana Addo from the NPP tradition? They have the men. They have the scholars. They are the ones who know. They have the lawyers. They have the architects. Or are we going to try and get Mahama back, who is an incompetent person who has come from the Veranda Boys? So that was the thing that was happening there. That was the thing that was happening there. The attraction started fading. And so there we go. The NPP came to power. They had the men. They were the attractive party. So they came back into power. Kufuor was the first person to bring the NPP back. Back in the day, the NPP came from the tradition of the United Party. The United Party had faded away. And so when, after the 1966 coup, and the parties came up, the UP rebranded itself as the Progress Party, PP, Party Papa. That was the slogan, PP, Party Papa, PP, Party Papa. So they branded as the Progress Party, led by the first African professor who taught at the University of Ghana, Professor K.A. Busia. So they came to power, they had the man. It was Busia, it was Darocha, it was the Victor Wusus, name them, they had the man. So Busia came to power and they followed for a long time until J.A. Kufuor brought them back after rebranding from the Progress Party to the New Patriotic Party. And J.A. Kufuor was the first presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, which had its roots in the UP anyway. But J.A. Kufuor came, so they stayed in power until the NDC also came. But all I'm saying is this, folks. This is what I'm saying. Now the NDC is in power. And the budget that Ato Forsen read has been met with jubilation. He had abolished the nuisance taxes. This was abolished. And funny enough, history is amazing. If you remember the first budget that Ken Ofori-Atta read, he abolished so many taxes. I check Accra. I don't remember the specific taxes that he abolished, but he also came and said there were so many nuisance taxes. So Ofori-Atta's first budget was, we've abolished this, we have abolished that, we have abolished this. And even people started joking on social media that the only thing they didn't abolish was the NDC. Isn't it funny that after a long while, the NDC has come back to power, and Ato Forsen's first budget is all these: abolish this, abolish that, we have abolished the EV levy, we abolished this. And funny enough, you go on social media and say, oh, they have abolished anything, they only forgot to abolish the NPP. It's very funny. So now, This is where I'm looking at now. It's very, very interesting that the NDC has come into power now, and the 120 days that Mahama gave himself that he's going to make sure certain things were assigned and accomplished by then, he seems to be sticking with it. The budget is out and everything, and he seems to be sticking with it. And people are saying, yeah, Charlie, if he continues on this trajectory, dear, NPP is abolished. Is that true? This is what I want to talk about today. This is Funalytics. Looking into the crystal ball. Do you think that the way that the NDC has started, they are on the right trajectory? And that if they continue and stay on that, not only stay on that, but improve on that, that they are likely to abolish the NPP? I know that somebody has said that the NPP will be out for the next 48 years. But this is politics. The same way people were saying that the NDC was out and they should have been abolished, and didn't think that the NDC will emerge, especially under somebody who had been vilified as incompetent and corrupt and everything. The whole revival of the NDC has come under this man, who has now promised that he's back again, but this time he's back to reset the country. This resetting agenda is not a joke. I have told you all the time that when we come out, all that we are saying is that yes, we agree that we need to reset this country, because we are so far back. One day I'm going to do a show, I'm going to do a show and explain why I think that Ghana is torn between lawlessness and disorder. Not today, I'll do a show, maybe the next one or the next two. We complain about everything. We complain, you name it. We complain about Galamsey and the harm it is doing to Ghana. We complain about the driving. We complain about the electric, everything we complain about. We complain about Okada. And Mahama is receiving hell. Say, but why are you going to bring back Okada? How can you bring back Okada? Say, Bebe and things. Everything. And my show that I'll do to explain why we are where we are is because Ghana is now standing between lawlessness on one hand, and the other hand, disorder. Won't you? We are standing on lawlessness on one hand, and on the other hand, disorder. That is why we're where we are. So for me, my whole understanding, unless I'm wrong, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, unless I'm wrong, my whole understanding of resetting is this, that Ghana is going to make sure that we return to the days where we had law and order. So if that's what Mahama says is going to create the DMC, he has my support. I'm right behind him, because that is the only thing. Sure, talk about any problem in Ghana now. You talk, just mention any problem, and I tell you that the root cause of that problem is lawlessness and disorder. End of discussion. Would the problem be out there? You can send it to me on Facebook and YouTube. Name any problem, and I will tell you, I can prove to you that I can show you that the root cause of that problem you're talking about is because we are torn between lawlessness and disorder. But that's not the show for today. So I'm saying that my idea of resetting is simply that there's going to be the establishment of law and order. So I'm saying this, folks, based on my Funalytics, say I am part that resetting will set Ghana on the trajectory of law and order. And I'm telling you, then the NDC is in for a long time. But if at the end of the day it's all going to be like abolish, and it started with beautiful budget, everybody is happy, but at the end of the day it's going to end up like there's still no accountability, there's still no transparency, then to end up the same way the NPP ended. So me, I'm just saying funalytically there, Mahama, to me, the law and order. But law and order goes with discipline. And that's the biggest thing missing. Charlie, name it, all the land issues, everything, indiscipline and the lack of law and order. Whoever will bring law and order in this country there, Charlie, a day for you. A day with you. So, looking into the things, look at what the NDC has inherited now. Free SHS, great idea. It's a great idea, but it's not a novel idea because free SHS, even in the Constitution of Ghana, it stated that eventually, progressively, this nation should evolve towards establishing free education. And sure, compliments to Nanado say, I'm not waiting. Mostly progressively, but maybe I'm in a hurry. I'll do it and I'll do it now. If only he had done it and done it right, it would have been the greatest asset ever left to Ghana. Let me say one of the greatest. Let me not exaggerate. But it was sort of rushed, you know. So now one of the challenges that this government is facing, what to do with free SHS? Will be review. Because it is such a popular thing. It is so admired by many. Let's face it, it gave the opportunity for many who otherwise could not have gone into SHS. It opened the doors for many. So yes, it had some good things to say about it. It obeyed those my opportunities, you know. But at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, it was rushed. This is what my father used to say to me. Reverend G.K. Sintimisa, the very reverend of blessed memory. I said, Kweku, if we want, now I could 2, now I could 3, now I could 4. Sunday, you know. Would you give if we want, now I could 4? What do you want to wish him? Say, what happens at 1, 2, 3, 4? Let me speak it in English, you know. This is advice my father was giving to me one time. You know, I was more of a radical. I wanted Nyama quickly. And he was advising me, he said, listen, my son, the logic of this world, this universe is that start from 1. You perfect 1. You master 1. Then you go to 2. And then you understand 2, you perfect it, everything is cool with 2. Then you go to 3. You do the same thing, then you go to 4. He was explaining that the things are gradual, step by step. Then you go to 5, 6, you know. But he was telling me, he said, my son, if you think you are so smart that you start from 1 and you want to skip it all the way to 6, something will happen and trigger you back down to where you would have started. So take your time. And I'm saying this to say that, yes, free HSS is a brilliant idea, but we didn't take our time. We started from 1, boom, then we got yeah. And there were all these complaints. Headmasters complaining, students complaining, general people, parents.
All we know, the preaching and everything that concerning this free education is that government has taken over everything. Just bath your child and bring your child to school. It doesn't work like that. It is not like that. Practically, that is not true on the ground. The parents are suffering. They are going through a lot. Because one, my brother, things you are buying, a parent end up spending close to 6,000 to 7,000 cedis items before the child going to school. You get to the school, before leaving the school, because you want the quality education which is not provided for your child, you need to spend a lot of money before leaving the school. So, you see, the free thing we are talking about, you see, it's high time we have to revisit this particular sentence.
You know, very few people say, I'm giving you something free, but it has quality, and it means a lot. It has everything that is adding value to your life, but it is free. But it doesn't happen like that, though. Americans will say there's no free lunch. Even the free education is free because people have paid their taxes, and there was oil money, and there were other monies that they could use to spend to cater for free education. But I'm not free, sir. So basically, all I'm saying is that yes, it was a solid idea, but it was so popular because it created amazing opportunity for people who would have otherwise not gotten education to get it. So that was brilliant. So because of that aspect of it, because of the good aspects of it, it became so popular that it became a political issue. In the last election, one of the great gendarmes that were being engineered to make sure that Mahama doesn't win was that Mahama said Oba Obichem. And this was on major television stations. I won't name them. Came out as news items, Mahama Krasi Oba Obichem.
Former president and his party, the NDC, have given a clear indication that they are going to cancel the Free City High School.
You know, it was for part of the agenda to make sure he never wins power. But no, Mahama is in power. Right now, free education is staring at him. What are you going to do? You promised that you won't touch it. And to quote Mahama himself, he said free education has come to stay. Mahama the kind.
How can a person who launched free SHS be against free SHS? And so it's a political gimmick that is played by our opponents. Free SHS has come to stay. And nobody can roll it back. All we're saying is, let's improve the implementation. Let's take away the bottlenecks. Let's work to abolish the fast track. Let's be able to feed the children better by decentralizing the school feeding, the free SHS school feeding program. So those are all the kinds of initiatives we're thinking about. But we can only take that decision if we come together as stakeholders and discuss freely the challenges that it faces. Today, there is not the environment for a free discussion of free SHS. Ask any teacher or headmaster. If they make comments adverse to the conditions and implementation of free SHS, they are either sacked or they are transferred to Siberia. And so we must change that. We must free them to be able to come up and talk about it and discuss free SHS and how we can improve it. My commitment is to improve it. And so that political gimmick, if he comes, he will cancel free SHS. And I've seen some Osofutu going around and repeating the same thing. I don't know if he's, I don't know who he is, but he's also gone around repeating that same tired, hackneyed, political propaganda. I am committed to free SHS. I was the one who launched free SHS in this country, and free SHS has come to stay.
It has come to stay. Mama was assurance, no. Now he's in. Now what is he going to do? Because it has to change. Never in my life do I know that you can go to school for 1 month and then come home for 3 months. Nah, it's track 1 court, not track 2 court. It was a mess. We didn't plan it. Even I hear that Otumfo has added his voice to it in terms of what to do to review, to make it better. Listen to this.
Free senior high school, no. So you try to let's say because the free senior high school among Kolakona Comadi and Yasapamia Bade, and there's some infaso.
Joe.
Now you're able to say, you are never one or dinner son or befu, dinner son or befu, nine Wasako, then soon. Yanshin ye near Musi, a qua neco. Adrianin will be dear and would do between a tree and whom you're written ye. Obo was a between a tree, I am in chair.
Joe.
I know another. If you can a course school, if you now pass here, you have a bezry. Well, woman, who name won't into a better natural trouble. Yeah, you have him near my bedroom. Cocoa boss scholarship, those days, in their movie. Oh, that will be to a trans who trian or dear, you who's want to interest you a try near whom. Better no who's away into near their school administration. Bezry near their man on a so called. It is I bread their more cane and never. Then I'm not a bro for now to
Joe.
So yeah, simply what he was saying is that either you review it or you cancel it, because it is not working. Sadly, even if people with the authority and the power and everything like Otumfo even didn't say anything at that time. You can tell where we were as a nation. That people whose authority knew no bounds, even they would not ruffle any feathers under the previous government. So now there we stand. So that's why I'm saying, there's a lot for the NDC or Mahama to do to straighten things, to reset things. That's why I said, if, let me come with evil. Make I say when he resets it, because I don't know. It's still in the early days yet. I can only hope and pray that the resetting agenda of bringing law and order into this country becomes a reality. Otherwise, you're doomed. I mean, things are happening that you don't understand. You know, the IGP was recently fired. And there were those that were not too happy. They said he was one of the most professional policemen. And how the hell does the Mahama fire him? I even think somebody actually threatened that there was going to be some court action, be on it and stuff like that. And on the other hand too, I saw so many policemen that were jubilating. Why were they jubilating? Were they jubilating because this is a way to look at it. Maybe the police were jubilating because he was so good, sir. He was checking them. It happens a lot too in our society. If you are strong and you're rigid and you check on them and you don't allow them to do foolish things, they hate you. And so when you go, they'll rejoice. It is possible. Or was it because he, Dampare himself, was a stumbling block to many things that the police could have done and couldn't do? Me, I'm only asking you. Why was some jubilating? I'm only asking. And actually, the fact that I hear 2 days after Dampare left the scene, I'm reading and hearing that there has been an arrest, and that a close friend of Ahmed Suare has been arrested. I guess in suspicion to everything. But this is the question I'm asking. How come a day after the IGP left the scene, such a major arrest has been made? Ghanaians have been clamoring all this time. Charlie, what happened to Ahmed Suare? There's been quiet. No activity has come in that front. A day after Dampare is sacked, they said they've arrested somebody. Now, this is the question I'm asking. Is this something that he knew, but he wouldn't make it public? And if so, why? Or is it something that he didn't know, but major power blocks in the police structure knew, but they also kept quiet and are doing it now? I don't know. Chale, so me kasa, my yab, all of it gets to this point that, Chale, the resetting agenda, it is so important. Easy, so it is not going to be easy. It is not. And I'm sure the president himself knows that when he made the chief executives, the CEOs and the CSOs, he made that statement that this is going to be an era where people are going to have to perform. He said it. He said you should perform. He actually used our words. Remember when we say step aside, or can it be? He said the CEOs should perform or step aside.
So you're part of the reset agenda, and we expect something completely different from you. The reports we would look at next year will be the report for 2024. So really your performance will show when we do the 2026 review, that will show for 2025. And I'm going to come and sit in that review, and we will mark you based on your performances. And if you're not matching with the pace of the reset agenda, you might be asked to step aside.
I'm not saying it's my word, but may a popular kakra. Anyway, let's move on. But these are signs, early, very early signs, which indicate that the man means business. And I'm saying this today. If that happens, Mahama will break the 8. I don't say Mahama because no. Let me say NDC. If the wait has started, the momentum can continue. If they can continue to reset and build this nation. NDC members of parliament, if you can start going to parliament, yeah, Munko parliament kakra. Apa! It's always, the majority side is always empty. Is that how you are backing your president who has come wild, essentially? My wild, and making changes? Is that how you are backing him with an empty parliament? You have to change. I'm going to start a roll call on parliament very, very soon. You have to change. The BNI is empty. People woke up in the morning, I sunlight to vote for you. When you're parliamentary supremacy or whatever you want to call it, and you don't even show up. So what does that make? But we'll get there. We'll get there. So let me say this. If NDC can continue like this, notice I say if, I didn't say when, because it's all said we are praying. If the NDC can continue like this, with the same, not the same, with increased momentum, not the same momentum, the momentum must increase. And last time I advised all the new appointees who have come in, show dynamism. If you're able to do that, you may probably just break the 8. Otherwise, until then, dear, we all have a fine. And it's possible. We have seen the politics. If you look at our track record, it is very, very possible. Okay? So today I'm going to end here today because I didn't come with any specific topic. I just wanted to do some funalytics as to where are we going. Next time I come, I don't know, I may do this law and order thing. It's very, very critical. I may go into the details of it. But you don't know. Sometimes some spirit comes and some new topic comes or something exciting comes. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining me today. We are wrapping up for the day, and I'm saying keep hope alive because we have no option. Any optional. It's not a choice. Are you going to build the nation or not? There be any choice. We have to build this nation. We have to build this nation as if our lives depended on it. And guess what, folks? Yes, our lives do depend on it. We shall build this nation. Ghana shall rise again.